At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Weaving into hour number 2, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here, Circus Sports, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Our closer, Jensen, who was back home in the land, Cleveland, Ohio. Going to have Josh Inglis join us this hour from Covers to talk some Major League Baseball as well. Hour number 3, going to have Adam Burke. Berkey's going to join us here to talk some more baseball as well. And JVT will get us all caught up, certainly on the hardwood, before this show is over. But we do have some breaking news. Jensen, I don't know if you saw this, but it does look like there's been a lapse in the rehab of Ronald Acuna Jr., and reports now say he might be out for the year. Are you seeing this?
Oh boy, no! I will definitely.
April
look
Fools!
Into that.
April Fools!
Come on! No, you did. Oh gosh,
that was more for Wyatt Tomchek in the back, Mr. Braves back there.
But you
as
got
we were
me.
talking, I got you. I did get you
God.
though, did I not?
You got
That's
me.
it.
I'm
That's
sitting
the
here,
one.
Wait a minute. What did I?
It's the one April Fool's joke.
Texted. I got a text message from Elon right here. Like, come on, man. Like, no way.
It was set up perfectly because people can't hear us during the break. That should be, that should be VSiN By The Books After Dark. Yeah, a special subscription so you can listen to us. And Wyatt's now mad at me. He's going to be running at me during the break here because he's all freaked out about his Braves being 0-5. By the way, they do look bad, and they do need Spencer Strider back. They do need Acuna back quickly, right?
Not only that, but they'll be fine. I was just telling Wyatt in the break here on DraftKings, they do have some team win specials, and you can find the Braves right now at minus $1.15 to win 90 or more regular season games. I have lost zero faith in this team. They were my pick to win the National League East, so I think they'll be fine. One win, and it'll open up the floodgates. They'll be okay.
I'm looking at the Mets if I can still get close to $3.
Dave,
one big win is all it took for me to be all back in on my Metropolitans.
Dave, just do not take any anabolic steroids so that we can have you for at least the next 80 days, okay?
Don't know what Jerkson Profar is taking, but he's not going to be. That is not an April Fool. He will not be around here for quite some time. Let's get to our highlights and headlines here as we discussed in hour 1, carry over into hour number 2. And the Orioles, not good news here. These are, again, no April Fool's jokes. We got our one out. But how about this? Colton Cowser is going to be out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. Orioles right now to make the playoffs, it's still minus money. Got to lay $1.50 here. Nice win last night over the Red Sox. I guess the concerns might be more in Beantown than they are right now in Charm City.
No question. You just happen to bring up Fangraphs to look at where some of the numbers are. And yes, we are only 4 or 5 games into the season. Here are your top offensive players for the Orioles. You have Adley Rutschman, number 26 overall. Tyler O'Neill, number 24. Jordan Westberg, number 14. Cedric Mullins, number 11. They're doing just fine. And oh, by the way, they're going to get Gunnar Henderson back here pretty soon. To make the playoffs, that was the number I put down there. Also, Dave, I mentioned if you're approaching some of these early moves in the markets for futures and things of that nature, like the stock market, Orioles are the second betting favorite right now for the East in the American League at plus 260. So not mad at you if you want to get some shares of that as well.
Very quickly, along those lines, with the Orioles beating the Red Sox yesterday, this really slow start, not just for Rafael Devers, but the entire Red Sox offense and their pitching staff here. They've drifted back down to plus 450.
Yes.
We always say not to overreact, certainly in the month of April. How about the first week? We're on literally April 1st, and they're already back to plus 450. What do you make of that shift here in the AL East?
Yeah, I mean, some of the injuries notwithstanding. By the way, congratulations, Garrett Crochet, 6-year, $170 million extension. He got the bag. But again, this is why it's overreaction month, and you absolutely love pouncing on some of these prices. The one that just stuck out to me, I just happened to check it. So as I told you in our division predictions and also our season predictions, I took Boston to be the 1 seed and to win the American League. Okay, right now you can get the Red Sox at 19-1 to win the American League East and the American League pennant.
Ooh.
And I'll tell you what, that is very appetizing considering where we are in the season. I told you, and I'll keep preaching it, April overreaction month, both positively and negatively. But I think we have yet to see Boston really find their way out of it. Once they do, though, just like Atlanta, boy, they're going to hit their stride.
You know, in our text chain with our producer, Jared Moore, yesterday, I was saying, man, I was trying to find that Reds 7-1 that DK had yesterday. Those are gone. You couldn't even get those out here in Vegas. They're shorted under $5. Even on DraftKings right now with the Reds' big win yesterday, it got shaved $1. So these markets are kind of thinning themselves out here, moving a little bit with one game. They went from 7-1 to 6-1 here on DraftKings. Speaking of, how about the Win Twins? They haven't won yet. They got blanked in our highlights and headlines here. 9-0 on the south side of Chicago yesterday. Standing room only available if you saw the crowd. And our new producer, Brandon Valesky, was there.
Yeah.
How about that? Like, I think Brandon was the only person there with his son. That's it. Nobody else was in the entire stadium to see this bludgeoning by the Sox. 9-0 over the Twins. What do you make of what's going on with Minnesota?
Yeah, not only that, I mean, Dave, their rotation is god-awful at the moment, and this is only the first time around. So let's hang with it, but we already have market corrections. Ooh. Remember we told people on just yesterday, nothing had changed in the American League Central. Guess what? We have movement, and the Twins now from the betting favorite down to the third choice at plus 270. The Royals now the betting favorite at plus 220, just a hair ahead of the Detroit Tigers at plus 230. Again, I told you my trepidation with the Twins was, will there be enough offense? They had none yesterday. Kind of hard to win when we don't score. But I think ultimately their pitching will end up finding its way out. Will the offense be able to do that? That's my biggest question mark. So Twins to miss the playoffs at minus $1.20. Not a bad idea right now.
This is fascinating. We talked about the win totals out. We mentioned the Giants are sitting at 5.5. I don't know what's going to happen with Brian and Joe running the show there in New York, and that's Shane and Dayball respectively. But they say now, the Giants, that they're not going to force a quarterback selection at number 3 is where they sit in the NFL draft. So now Travis Hunter is the favorite to go number 3 at minus $1.50. Is this, if you're trying to save a job, if you're a GM or a head coach, is this the way to go about doing it?
If he's there, like that was my first reaction. Okay, he's a favorite, but if he's there, I mean, I heard Andrew Berry previously talk about, and it was just recently too, the most glowing remarks about Travis Hunter that I think we've heard to date. And hey, the Browns also getting their owner come out and say, as a swing and a miss, a big one on Deshaun Watson. Hey, do we see late into the week heading into the draft, do we see the Giants do one last gasp effort to move up if they're that convinced? I don't know. I want nothing to do with any of their draft props right now.
It is interesting to see what they're doing. Obviously, you bring in Jameis Winston, you bring in Russell Wilson. So if that's the route, and you still have Tommy Cutlets on the roster, right? So if that's your quarterback room, and you say we're good, there's no room for a new quarterback at 3, so we're not going to force feed it. Okay, but I just wonder if these guys are going to be making these decisions next year. I'm not rooting for anybody to lose their job, but it's just very interesting the way they are going about free agency in lockstep with the draft coming up this month. So fascinating. Speaking of, the Steelers have cleaned out their quarterback room. They brought back Mason Rudolph. If you remember, Mason was on that team 2 years ago when they made a wild card run. He ended up being the starter at the end of the year. That was when Kenny Pickett was still on the roster. They cleaned all those guys out, brought in a whole new quarterback room, cleaned that out again, and then brought back Mason Rudolph. And they still don't have Aaron Rodgers, so Mike Tomlin says they're comfortable with Mason Rudolph as QB1. Their win total sitting at 8.5, juice to the under $1.35. Is this good enough? Because I think in Tomlin we trust.
No, I definitely love the under. I mean, if Mason Rudolph is your number one, first of all, DK Metcalf just absolutely losing his mind as he goes through his workouts this morning. The other, I mean, we obviously know the elephant here is Aaron Rodgers. Is it going to be Pittsburgh? Is it going to be Minnesota? Is he trying to leverage both sides? And is Mike Tomlin playing hardball here in the media and saying, Okay, Aaron, I don't know if you know this, but I have not had a sub 500 season, regardless of who's taking the snaps. Just so you know, we are fine. Cam Hayward, like, if you don't want to be here, beat it, dude. We don't care. You're not the needle mover. You really aren't. But I can't sign up. Mason Rudolph in that division, in that no chance. Give me the under at minus $1.35.
I would just say, if that's the case and you bet those unders, you're betting on something to happen that's never happened in the Mike Tomlin era, and that's to have a losing record.
That's fine.
That's the only way that cashes.
Hey, how much sand can stay at the top of the hourglass? Okay.
At some point, it's got to sift to the other side. How about this for some headlines and highlights? Certainly in college basketball, we got some numbers out and props out for the highest scoring team in the Final Four. Now, Florida is the favorite at $1.05. Houston's the long shot at 20-1. Now, I got to assume, and check your books, this means for the full complement of Monday, just Saturday. Just for Saturday. Okay. It's just Saturday. Can I interest you in Houston at 20-1? It would probably take double overtime in order for that prop to hit, because that's the only way they can have the most points, right? To beat Duke in a high-scoring game. I don't think that gets done in regulation.
All right. So as I've told you, the selfish part of me does not care too much about it, because I want my bracket to be right with Florida and Houston. If I'm going to take a stab at it, I'm going to take Auburn at plus 145.
Ooh.
And that obviously means that they would be beating Florida. So just something to think about.
Don't hate it. I would love to see somehow that Houston at 20-1, but I just don't see how else that gets there. No. By the way, for highlights and headlines, how about this? Frankie, I mentioned that Lindor had the day off after having a day off. I hope he's okay. He's the only member of the Pete Alonso did not use a torpedo bat in that blast salami last night down there in South Beach. What do you make of Frankie being the guinea pig in New York?
He is the first. He will not be the last. And again, he got the A-OK from the better half because he just had the birth of his most recent child. And so he got the day off, if you will. But I think we'll have a few New York Metropolitans that are in the torpedo bat arena here pretty soon.
Protection in that lineup behind Soto is nice to see. Come on back with Josh Inglis. That's next here at VSiN By The Books.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis here on a Tuesday edition of Always Love Talking Major League Baseball. We're going to do that right now with Josh Inglis. You can follow him on X as I do at covers_Josh. Joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Josh, we were having a spirited conversation during the break. And I always say people got to pay extra for VSiN Pro subscribers just to hear those conversations. But you know, I'm like Mr. Red this year. It's my biggest play on the win total, over 78 here. What do you make of the Reds? Quick synopsis, if you will, of that lineup, because it does look a lot better with Matt McClain hitting in front of Elly De La Cruz.
Gets pretty weak down there at the other end of the lineup. Maybe Spencer Steer comes back, but there's a lot to like about that. But in terms of the excitement, exciting teams usually don't win the division, right? I know Milwaukee's off to a rough start, but it's usually the Milwaukees of the world who win the Central, where it's just like, how are you guys winning this by 6 games by the end of the year? St. Louis is good right now. I thought it was interesting that the win total was Cincinnati was closer to Pittsburgh in terms of where the tier is than Chicago. Mm-hmm. So they could maybe push to 78. I know it looks sexy like that because of the offense, but at the end of the day, this is a bullpen that's not built for Great American Ballpark. They gave up the most home runs, and they're a young team, and they were terrible in one-run games. I know the variance will swing the other way, hopefully, but I mean, young teams usually aren't indicative of fixing those trends as well as maybe some more veteran teams. But fun to watch. I don't know if I'm getting. I'd rather go get Elly now at 10-1 for MVP than I would Cincinnati to win the division.
Jensen's already gotten my stress texts about the bullpen. So, right, Jensen, you've already felt my angst with that Reds bullpen.
And not only that, but Josh, you make a great point. I had Elly in pocket 20-1 before the season, and I told Dave, I was like, I can't wait to see where that number is come May 1st. And if the torpedo bat is anything for around the league, he is going to benefit. He certainly did last night. Hey, two different player props. Let me throw at you. Let's stay with the Reds theme with Matt McClain, but also you've been saying it, and you posted it earlier before coming on the show. It's Vladdy Day, and it may be Torpedo Tuesday. I know Dinger Tuesday is there for FanDuel players out there, but those two guys you're honed in on for tonight's matchups.
Yeah, Vladdy's just a case of when right now. Game 6 today, Trevor Williams, no home runs. Maybe not. I mean, Santander's good protection. I think we overblow the protection. Oh, he doesn't see any pitches. No, he does. And he's hitting the ball harder than he ever has. 98 mile an hour exit velo average. Last year was 94. That was in the top 2%. So he's hitting it hard. 71% hard hit rate is insane. But this price, and it comes down to this. Yeah, I would love to bet Shohei Ohtani for a home run every game, but I'm not betting plus 180, plus 200, right? Like it's the Ellie stolen base situation, the whole thing. But when Vladdy Guerrero's plus 550 at DraftKings for a home run, that is a giant number. Use the boost, get it. Like I would rather Vladdy in this spot at home versus Trevor Williams than Rowdy Tellez at a worse number, than Jake Berger at a worse number, than Wyatt Langford and Michael Massey. It's just funny where they price him. And across the board, his numbers are still good. Plus 165 for an RBI. No hitting out of the 2-hole isn't great for that spot, but his over 1.5 total bases is always in play. His over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I just don't think the books price him as well, and I think we're getting a bit of a dip. And you usually don't say that. I know big name players, they're not getting deals on Justin Jefferson in week 7. I get it. But Vladdy Guerrero here, it's every year they've kind of priced him, and his RBI market was always bad last year. So I like that. Matt McClain, I just want a piece of that offense. But I don't think there's a better player in a lineup that fits a market than Matt McClain in the hits, runs, RBI. Hitting at the 2-hole, Friedel's in the 1 spot, can get on base, can steal bags. One of the most aggressive base stealing teams in all of baseball. And then he's got Ellie behind him, coming off a 2 home run, 7 RBI game. Man. If there's a day to get this is the day. Plus money for hits, runs, RBIs. Like it should be maybe minus 120, minus 125, where his over 1.5 total bases is this price. So like it, love it. Hitter's ballpark. Nathan Eovaldi's really priced into this, but he pitched well in his opener, but this was also a guy who gave up 8 runs in 13 innings in the spring. So maybe a comeback for him. Yeah,
I love the handicap there. McClain there scored 4 times yesterday. Ellie scored 4 times. 8 runs between those two guys crossing the plate. Really impressive a day ago. Let's get back to that game north of the border with the Nats and the Blue Jays, because I think you like another player prop here. Maybe James Wood you're looking at here for the National side.
Finally got to see James Wood. Didn't surprise. Like his home run, kind of a wall scraper, oppo left, but you cut to the bench, and all of a sudden there's C.J. Abrams who just hit a home run in the previous at-bat, and they're talking to see him. And when you see Major League Baseball players talk and be like really surprised on how that got out, that just shows you the power that 6'7" left-handed hitting James Woods has in this lineup. Over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I like it because he's got CJ in front of him who can steal. We saw Jose Barrios get absolutely pummeled by left-handed hitting in the opener. We're seeing a lot of home runs at Rogers Center right now, 17 through 5 games, 12 of those coming against the Jays. A lot to like in this spot. And James Wood, his hard hit rate is like top 2% in all of baseball right now. You're talking like 75% hard hit rate. So want to see it. Barrios didn't really impress in the opener, and that bullpen, especially if it's kind of the B bullpen, not their high leverage guys, certainly hittable.
Josh, let's go on to the flip side now. My pitchers out there, and you've got a shot down in Houston with Hayden Wesneski, obviously coming over from the Chicago Cubs, and he will get his first start with the Astros against a Giant lineup that may be a bit more top heavy this year, but again, a little bit more of a path of least resistance towards the bottom. You like a specific walk prop for him in his start tonight?
It's funny, like, I love betting pitcher stuff. I think there's less variance in betting pitcher stuff because you can kind of somewhat predict pitch counts and see where it goes. And then finding the pitch count and then going down the list of all the markets to see where you can get it. Strikeouts are usually the first markets to move. And then down the ladder, you have walks and hits against. So right now, projecting a shorter pitch count here for Wesneski, who didn't really get too stretched out there in the spring, never threw more than 11 outs. Exited his last start in the minors with a comebacker. X-rays were negative. So this could be somewhere in the 70 pitches, which is a big thing because he's being priced as a guy who is subjectively going to throw maybe 90 something pitches, but plus 140 for under 1.5 walks. This is a really great number for a guy who maybe walks a pitcher or walks a batter every third inning plus. So the command's already kind of there. And in terms of 70 pitches, it's not that it's a control handicap. It's that it's a volume handicap. And I've gone down the list. Didn't like the price on the hits against. Didn't like the price on the strikeouts, the earned runs. And this isn't Hayden Wesneski's just going to be dotting everything. No, this is a guy who might only see 4 innings. So therefore, volume plus 140, that's a big price.
I love the way you basically figured out a better way to make the same bet, a similar bet here, at a much better value. Chad Patrick, is today the day for the Brewers to get off the schneid? And it might not be with the Royals' bats eating up?
So here's the other side. Chad Patrick, this is kind of a projected on the longer leash because they're kind of projecting him to be maybe just an opener. He threw 22 pitches on Saturday, but because of the injuries to Tobias Myers and Jose Quintana not ready, they need him to start here, and they need to win. So the Brewers' rotation beat up. This leash is really hard to predict, but there is some variance in here. But the over 1.5 earned runs is the best way I think you can handle it. Minus 110, not paying a lot of tax. 60 to 80 pitches is somewhere on the table. So this is a market where, because of the variance, I don't know how long he's going to go. There are more paths to this over because this is a pitcher who's a mid-range pitcher. This is a pitcher who, had like a 4.9 ERA in the minors 2 years ago before he kind of turned things around. I would expect somewhere around like 4 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 4 hits against, 3 Ks on 60 pitches. That's where I'm projecting it. But right now the books have him projected at very low just because of that Saturday start. But it was only 22 pitches, and he was really stretched out during the spring. So another way of finding out where the pitch count is and then just applying it to the market.
All right, last one for me, Josh. As people know, on Tuesdays, Dinger Tuesday for FanDuel is something that everyone loves to play. Last year, here are your guys that had the most homers on Tuesdays. 2 guys that won't play today because Philly is off. Kyle Schwarber had 10, Bryce Harper had 9. Would you rather have Josh Naylor, or would you rather have Christian Walker down there in Houston?
I was just looking at hard hit rates right now. Christian Walker is top 5 in hard hit rates in all of baseball. What's my Christian Walker matchup today?
Christian Walker, against San Francisco, and let's
Logan
see.
Webb.
Oh,
yeah.
Boy.
Sinker ball
that's
central.
a tough one. I'm a big Logan Webb fan, and he's one of the best ground ball pitchers in all of baseball. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
Yeah,
it's hard.
You do get Josh Naylor. You get Josh Naylor in the boogie down against Will Warren, a rookie. So that might be the way to go.
I think that match. I know that's likely priced into a lot of it, but I just don't really like guys going deep versus Logan Webb, who's going to get 18 outs and get a 60% ground ball rate.
It's just so good to talk baseball again, gentlemen. Josh, really appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on the Progressive Guest Line with us.
All right. Enjoy Dinger Tuesday, gentlemen. Take care.
There he is. Give him a follow on X at Josh_covers. By the way, $9.99 right now. VSiN.com/subscribe. Daily best bets, exclusive betting splits, expert analysis, betting system. The Daily Diamond is next.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books right here on VSiN.
Great conversation with Josh Inglis from Covers in the last segment, talking Major League Baseball. We're going to talk more of it with Adam Burke in hour number 3. We'll get back to the hardwood, certainly with Jonathan Von Tobel, JVT, in hour number 3 as well. But without further ado, let's keep that baseball talk going because so far it's been pretty profitable at the early part of the year. It is time for the Daily Diamond. Oh, boy. Midwest right now, suffering a little bit. The Brew Crew, nary a win. Win Twins, haven't won yet. That's going to kick off today's Daily Diamond. What do you have today, Jensen?
All right. And again, in the overreaction markets here of would you rather to make the playoffs, the Brewers plus $1.65, the Twins, even money.
Okay, here's the deal. You know me, and I'm glad that we just had Josh Inglis on in the last segment to talk me off a little bit of the hype train that is the Cincinnati Reds. And you really do have to look at the rest of the division. First of all, can either one of these teams still win the division? Of course. They both can. But, I'll ask you, Jensen, which division top to bottom do you think is tougher? Because the bottom, we believe, in the Central is not supposed to be any good. White Sox look scrappier. So I think we think that the National League Central would be a little bit more difficult top to bottom. If the Redbirds are going to be back to being the Lou, as they've been in decades past, it kind of gets me back to the Twins at even money. But maybe are the White Sox actually going to be decent and steal some wins away from some of those upper echelon teams in that division?
What's fascinating is looking at the Central right now, and I picked the Brewers to win, so I'm gonna lean to the Brewers. I'd rather have them. They are plus 290 to win the National League Central, and the Twins are plus 270 to win the American League Central. So just food for thought on that one. But I want to be right, so yes, I'll lean the Brewers. All right, would you rather? And this is wild. By the way, this is the great part about many different books out there. So DraftKings has a couple of different season-long player specials. Okay, let's start with the first one. Aaron Judge, would you rather the over 62.5 home runs at 3-1 or under 62.5 at minus $4.25? And they even have another prop market for you. Would you rather have 73.5 to the over, which is 13-1? The under is minus $50. Minus $50.
If you're watching either on VSiN.com, VSiN Watch app, you see the picture that we have for Aaron Judge. There is no torpedo bat, people. This is just like, he doesn't need it. He's barreling up just fine. So he doesn't need to move that barrel down at all. Aaron Judge is still Aaron Judge. Look, would I rather, for fun, I'd rather play the overs at 3-1 at 62.5 and the adjusted over at 13-1 to get 74 or more home runs, because that would be where we're having a majestic summer. We got another, chase for Barry Bonds or whatever record you want to recognize out there, America. But the money side of it says, we hate to say this because I don't want it to happen, even though I hate the Yankees. Who doesn't love Aaron Judge and watching him play? The injury aspect of it, right? That he's going to miss some time. We believe at some point that's kind of been his nature a little bit. Don't you think the sensible play? I don't want to lay 425 on just about anything, but to get 63 or more, I want to play the fun bet. I would not bet either one, by the way, because I'm not going to lay 425. But if you made me, I would say that the value play there, you would have to look to the under, because more things go wrong to get that under than what would go right to get that over.
Yeah. By the way, one of the great summers ever, where they broke into late local news around 7 p.m. Eastern time for live look-ins on those Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire at bats. For the millennials out there, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Can you guarantee me good health for Judge, and then I'll play the overs?
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Speaking of the Yankees, the Diamondbacks will come to town, and they have the top of their rotation going. Their ace, their new ace, Corbin Burns, will make his season debut. The Diamondbacks Yankees total is 8.5 right now. Would you rather have the over 8.5 at even money or the under 8.5 at minus $1.20? This is Corbin Burns against the young rookie Will Warren from the Boogie Down.
I mean, wasn't Corbin Burns just there in Charm City? And it didn't. I don't know that it went great in 1 year. It was good. I don't know that it was great. So, which Corbin Burns are we going to get in the Boogie Down tonight? Because, look, with a rookie in Will Warren, and I know that he's talented, and I know they've got high hopes for him, it's a pretty good D-backs lineup that can match as well. So, normally, under normal circumstances, I lean toward the under, but the way the balls are flying out right now early on, and with these torpedo bats and all the talk of the offenses, I'd probably take the even money at the over 8.5.
Do you want to know what the betting splits are right now? This
oh,
boy.
I
was bringing up.
Bring it.
Oh, 91% of the bets, 98% of the handle on the over.
Okay, I want to switch my vote to the under. I don't want to be on the consensus to 90+ percentage. Oh my God,
so good. Okay, I know we just talked with Josh Inglis about Dinger Tuesday. So we're not going to hit a home run. We're going 4 or more total bases in this next Would You Rather. And we couple that with last year's statistics of guys, Dave, that hit the most home runs just on Tuesday. Now, the Phillies are off today. So Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, who were hit 10 and 9 respectively, not available to pick from today. So would you rather Josh Naylor, who hit 10 homers on Tuesdays last year at plus 500, to get 4 more total bases, or Shea Langeliers at what we now might think is a bandbox there for the Athletics in Sacramento against Justin Steele at plus 360. Who would you rather have?
That's the problem. It's that matchup against Justin Steele. If we believe that he's going to be a potential Cy Young dark horse candidate there in the National League, we watched it last night. You and I know we were attentive early on, and man, that ball was getting out rather quickly, it seemed like. So by default, I'd probably play the bigger number on Naylor, right? And this is a guy that you had earmarked leading up to the season as a guy that maybe some of those alt totals for Josh. I got to feel like he loves being back in the boogie down here and says, I'll take my shots against a rook. I think I'd play the Naylor prop here at 5-1.
Yeah, chance to get his first of the season into the short porch in right field for sure. Would love that. Naylor 10 homers last year on Tuesdays. Shea Langeliers had 9.
Is there something about the water for those guys on a Tuesday? Like why are they mashing on Tuesdays?
Don't know, but hey, for bettors, it's always a great handicap to have. They love Tuesdays, man. All right, and our last one for you. Would you rather to have 7 or more strikeouts today? Ooh. Sandy Alcantara at plus $1.25 against the Mets at home, or Nathan Eovaldi in Cincinnati at Great American Launching Pad also at plus $1.25. Alcantara had 7 strikeouts in his first start. Eovaldi had 9 in hits.
9 times? I don't remember Nathan Eovaldi having 9 strikeouts. Look, I would love to say the Eovaldi prop saying because the Mets won't strike out that much against Sandy, but you know, sometimes like Pete can be hit or miss. He hit last night with that salami. Soto does not strike out a lot. That's the amazing thing about him. His eye discipline at the plate is fantastic. We expect Lindor, I'm assuming, to be back in that lineup today. He's really struggled at the beginning of the year. I hate to say it, but this is a big stage for Sandy. And again, even for the Marlins, like if you say, well, he went out there and shoved against the Metropolitans, that stock goes up at a potential trade, maybe a month down the road, or we get closer and closer to the deadline. So I'd probably go with Sandy coming back to looking like Sandy versus Eovaldi, who's been great, but I don't know that he's going to be up in that echelon of 8-9 Ks like he was last time out. I hate to say it, but if you're making me as a betting man, I'd probably look to Sandy to get more punchies.
All right, I'm going Eovaldi with 7 in Cincinnati. Free air conditioning there, a little regression from what Cincinnati put out yesterday, but fun exercises here for Daily Diamond. A lot of good player props here on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I love the Daily Diamond. It's a fantastic way to handicap not only some of these individual matchups, but full games as well if you're picking up what we're putting down on some of these props. By the way, if you have not checked out Sharp Plays, you can do so at sharpplays.com. Again, I'm not a big AI guy. I'm not necessarily a robot umps guy, but I've come around on that. AI for Sharp Plays, they're going to use that to your advantage for great betting analysis. They've got unmatched transparency with records updated each and every day, real-time global betting info for you, and alerts directly from the pros. So check it out today, sharpplays.com, if you haven't done so. And again, haven't had a losing record over a season. So Sharp Plays, pretty sharp so far, sharpplays.com. To that end, about some of those K props, because it does feel like early on, it's not just the torpedo bats. I know that's been all the rave here. But will pitchers strike back? Because, again, a lot of these games have been going over here at the early part of the season.
Yeah, I would expect so. And you kind of look at where some of the numbers as far as over-unders are right now. And you're seeing a lot of 5.5s. You're seeing some 4.5 still, and all that predicated on those pitch counts, just probably getting to 85, 90 pitches for some of these guys. Mm-hmm. But you're also getting some of these opening day starters, the aces that'll get their second turn of the rotation. So wouldn't be shocked if they get into that low to mid 90 range at some point this week.
When we come back, let's hop back into the Final Four, because I know it's Tuesday and games aren't until Saturday, but some subtle line movements, and we'll discuss that when you come back with us right here on VSiN By The Books.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books right here on VSiN.
We continue VSiN By The Books here on this Tuesday edition. Going to have Adam Burke and JVT join us in hour number 3. But we did want to go back to the Final Four. I know it kind of feels like now you kind of exhale a little bit from the weekend.
Right.
And then you're like, it's Tuesday. We start talking about baseball. We talk about other things going on. And then for those guys getting down there to San Antonio, I mean, these are the biggest games arguably they're ever going to play, right? Maybe bigger ones here for Cooper Flagg going to the next level. We'll find out how his career goes, and John A. Broom as well. But when you look at those two marquee names in those marquee matchups with Auburn against Florida and then Duke taking on Houston, I guess it's still Broom. He's the number one question because going into the tournament, it was Cooper Flagg and whether or not he was healthy. Remember, because he didn't finish out the ACC tournament. Duke goes on to win it without him. And you're like, oh, man, I wonder. Because I remember having those reservations going into it. We don't even think about that anymore. So a fully healthy Duke squad versus a really good defensive squad in Houston, right? Maybe offensively challenged a little bit. Have we already forgotten that Cooper Flagg could not play? At least they held him out of the semis and the finals in the ACC tournament. Is that not even an issue anymore?
Yeah, I think it was more indicative of, okay, the supporting cast is there and they don't need a healthy Cooper Flagg to be able to win games. Now, I don't think you can say that in this example of we can win a game without Cooper Flagg against a Houston team that will be the best defensive team we face. So yes, an 80% Cooper Flagg, even with his eye getting poked out or the ankle issue, like it feels like Duke is that spot where it doesn't matter as long as Cooper Flagg's on the floor, they're the best team. I just happen to look at some of these other markets too, and I was thinking of the futures as you mentioned those players. Okay, so DraftKings is hung exact result markets. And thinking of if for people that didn't have, numbers they liked from any of the four teams or didn't get in on any of the four teams until this point. If I gave you, again, if you were to name the finalists for me, just, if you're looking at it right now, Dave, who are your finalists on Monday night?
Okay, I might buck the trends a little bit because we had Matt Humans on in hour number one. And as he said, we're going to wait to see where our experts come in. As the week goes, we get closer and closer to tip on Saturday. But it feels like right now, and I understand why, it's on the chalky side. It's on the Duke side. It's on the Florida side. And I think most people believe that's going to be the matchup Monday night. I don't know that I believe that. Now, I would have been more, I'd say more vim and vigor on the Auburn side if I didn't see, John A. Broom's arm dangling, that literally playing with one arm to close out that Sparty win on Sunday. I mean, it was an impressive performance because you remember during the game when he went out, Tracy Wolfson's doing sidelines. She's saying she told the team basically go on without me. And then all of a sudden, Willis Reed, here he comes back in, he knocks down a three. He's getting one-arm rebounds. Like that, Broom and Auburn can't beat Florida. I don't believe. I think he's got to, you got to Karate Kid this thing and, Mr. Miyagi him and get him healed somehow with magical powers, or Patrick Mahomes in the tent. And then, Patrick Mahomes goes in there, gimpy, comes out and he's fine. Like if that happens, I think Auburn's got a real puncher's chance against Florida. But without knowing that, I'd have to lean to the Florida side, even though I have a ticket, $675, on Auburn to win the national championship. I don't feel as good about it because of that injury. I do give Houston a real shot to win this game. And it goes back to our conversation with Matt. Like Duke, to me, if the ACC was so down, and it clearly was, as evidenced by the teams that finished second and third in the ACC getting wiped out in the first round of this tournament, kind of looking non-competitive in that process, Duke's the outlier, but they haven't been battle tested. So, okay, you can say, well, the Big 12, how good's the Big 12? I think it's pretty darn good. And certainly better than what the overall body of work was by the ACC. And so for that kind of, you do that basketball math, if you will, and conference math, I do think Houston will not be, they're not going to be intimidated. No Kelvin Sampson team is ever intimidated by anybody else on the floor. LJ Cryer is going to have to play great, and he did not play well against Purdue. Obviously played much better against Tennessee. But to me, if you made me say right now who I think's playing in the national championship, I might go the way of the Cougar and go with Florida on the other side. And I know that's not going to be what most people are going to have in their brackets.
All right. So ironically, as we look at these DraftKings markets, so they do have if you name the finalists, so you name Florida and Houston, which is what I have in my bracket as submitted to VSiN.com, you can get it at 4-1. But if you build it out just on the money line parlay, you get it at plus 411. And so just something that you research throughout the markets here of where you can maximize your profit. An exact result. So for my bracket to come true, I have Houston over Florida. That's 6-1 right now. And so again, we talked about the exercise of when you saw Duke in the Sweet 16, if you feel like they're the champion, roll the money line over because you're never getting a better future price. You'll obviously get a much better ROI if you roll over that money line. So very interesting to see. And also I'll throw another one at you. And because we have an SEC matchup, you're guaranteed an SEC team in the final. You get a winning conference prop. The SEC is plus $1.50. The ACC is plus 105. And of course, Big 12 with Houston is plus $4. Just very interesting doing some of the research here of what numbers that these books will hang to try to entice people to take a lower profit.
It's fascinating because, again, to me, I would play the SEC prop there. And then if it's Florida Duke, I'm assuming Duke's going to be a small favorite. Yep. Maybe a bucket, right? And then you can figure out a way to potentially, if you wanted to, I know it's just small plus money there, but you've got two shots at it here. If Auburn gets there, if it was, say, an Auburn-Duke matchup, and you would think that if Auburn beats Florida in this hypothetical, that Broome is healthy. That's what we're getting at there. What do you make that number? What do you think Duke-Auburn looks like on a Monday night if they've somehow gotten by Florida and Broome looks good? Could that be Duke 3, Duke 4? I mean, I'm surprised this is still 2.5.
Yeah, four was a number that jumped out to me. And ironically, again, I just did a Duke Auburn moneyline parlay. That pays out at plus 213. If you name the finalists, Duke and Auburn, it's plus 210. So building out the moneyline parlay is better than these isolated markets here where you just name the finalists. So just very interesting. One more for you. Would you like Auburn over the field? That's plus $5. Woo. Okay. And right now your future for Auburn is plus $5. So that equals out. Yep. So again, just make sure when you're looking around here that there are ways to monetize this to maximize your profit instead of just taking, what has just been put in front of you. By
the way, DraftKings has answered our hypotheticals for us because there are projected lines already out for Monday night. How about this? So I got to be honest with you. I'm stunned by this. I think the consensus play is going to be the stronger number ones, Florida against Duke. So I thought this would be Duke 2. Are you ready for this?
4.5?
Duke 4.5? Whoa. Like, that stuns me. I got one of my best buds went to Florida, Chris Seibert. I never root for him because that's what friends do. We root against each other. I don't want to take Florida, but I think I'd have to at that point at 4.5. And then Auburn is only 5.5 versus 4.5 for Florida. 1 point. That's the difference between Auburn and Florida in that hypothetical.
And you got to believe that Duke would take an onslaught of money in the Auburn matchup, right?
You would think, which is weird because Auburn was pretty much the number one team in the country for the majority of the year. But now because the eye test has flipped so much, and Matt Ewens pointed out with, Malawach, and you're seeing these other freshmen, Knipple, and you're seeing these guys, they look the part of the, like John Shire, the cupboard is not bare. You've got really talented freshmen, not just named Cooper Flagg, in this thing. And then on Monday night, if it is Houston, which I think they're really live against Duke, and it was Houston-Auburn, which is the most unlikely of the matchups here. And by the way,
this was pre-tournament, right?
That was pre-tournament. That you saw Houston at plus 750, Florida at plus 950, Auburn at plus 340, and Duke at plus 370. So you get all those four number ones, and you see the odds associated before the tournament. Florida almost 10-1. What was I thinking not getting in on that? And yet now those same teams all get there, and you see how the market has switched dramatically to Duke here at Circa being even money to win the next two games. That is wild. By the way, so Houston is a 1-point favorite here over Auburn in what feels like the most unlikely of the number one seeds advancing. And then Florida against Houston, Florida is a small favorite against H-Town at 1.5. So pretty close there within one possession, obviously, on either one of those games. Very surprising numbers for the projections on a Monday night. So, again, right? I'm just stunned that like the numbers you could have had 2 weeks ago versus the numbers you could have today. By the way, you can have the VSiN Watch app if you are a VSiN Pro subscriber, $9.99. You check it out now. You can download it on the App Store, get it on Google Play. You can watch all of your favorite shows like this one, VSiN by the Books. If you missed it live, you can catch up on your time. So download and watch the VSiN Watch app. Hour number 3, straight ahead.